This is your daily market recap for Wednesday, April 27th, 2022. Let's go. Hey everyone, this is my channel to help investors and traders develop a probability-based mindset to succeed. Also try and keep friends informed of what's going on in the markets and the economy, and also a little real estate content as well. This is Dan Max at EXPI Realty, aka the Trading Agent, and this is your daily market recap for Wednesday, April 27th, 2022. Let's get into it. I hope you guys and gals have been checking out the Discord room. Tons of great trades and action being put out there for people to follow. Again, check out the Twitter channel. Check out the that's briefing. Check out the Discord room and check out all the side rooms. There's tons of information here. We're starting to update some of these reference articles for people about volume price analysis, seasonality, all sorts of little things. Again, this channel is built to help the trader, either beginner to advanced, to take a step up in understanding of the knowledge of the market and what's going on. Because the market, if you're by yourself, this is extremely difficult to know everything that's going on all the time. As someone who's been doing this for 20 years, I have seen the ups, the downs, and how the mechanics of the markets work. I wish I was a billionaire, but let's just say I do pretty well. And my goal is to, honestly, to share to others. You help others, the universe shares back to you, you know, as they say, give to receive kind of thing. And the more I do these videos and the better they'll get, the more people I think will get more information out of it. Just they'll get a good guidance from it. As my mentors always told me, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. That could be you, that could be me. All right, as usual, we usually start with Bitcoin, but let me check out briefing.com because there's a ton of earnings coming out. Here we go, some Meta misses, Qualcomm guides up, Qualcomm beat. We'll review more of this at the end. Just curious to see how it's coming through because we are during a big earnings season, or just a earnings season. They're all big, actually. They always seem big, right? Bitcoin holding on for a prayer. Again, we've called this double top, potential fail. We said this was a bull trap. It's come back down to range lows. It better hold the trend highs. I do like the volume increasing here, but I don't know if that's good or bad at this point. I need more information. And the reason why I say I need more information, because the price action is very sticky. So let's just see what happens here. Again, if you are newer to trading and you're just like, what the hell is he talking about? Stop by the Discord room. I'll explain it more and more. All right, let's get into it. The tilt, the TLT. So get back into the channel. SS said, you know, I mean, one of our traders in the Discord room was talking about it, and you can see it probably better on the 10-minute. Transfer that to the hourly. Off the lows. There is a channel brewing. Again, how clean it is. Is it? It's pretty clean. Good reference points to buy for the TLT. There's a cat that really wants to get into my lap. Yeah, and at this point, get into the channel. Doji, we said we need more information, backs off. However, bond bulls, we're holding the 8 and the 10-day. Keep that in mind. Just watch it. Be aware, end of the month. You know, this has been a pretty shitty month for the TLT. If you look at where it started, let's take a guess. Right around. Okay, yep. Yeah. We are at 130, at 120. It's going to get sold off potentially. Pretty simple. Keep it, you know your stops, know your limits. I mean, I've got some long dated calls that are probably going to be worthless unless this comes through, and I sold some puts that seem to be okay at this point. I'm not convinced of bullishness yet, though. Even though, what do we say every video? We are at monthly reference channel lows, so let's hope it holds. The dollar did a big rant on this yesterday, how this was not the similar trade to XOP bullishness that we're shorting. This is a continuation pattern. Now, the dollar did gap up today. Could that be a novice gap trap? We'll see. This thing has been making higher highs and higher lows. Problem is now that you broke over the 27 resistance and you're into the 27s. Where does this top end? No, I don't know. At this point, there's a lot of shit going on in the world that I don't know if I want to short the dollar, because it seems like, it doesn't seem like this is the truth. The dollar gets a bid when the shit is hitting the fan everywhere. You know, the markets just aren't comfortable. Things are, I mean, the volatility is high. And as I talked about, debt destroyed. It is denominated usually in dollars. Just keep that in mind. As long as the global currency is the dollar, it might not last forever. It's not looking that way. People are still buying and using dollars. The VIX said, we've got higher lows. Why wouldn't we go after the range highs? And guess what? Today was an inside day. It doesn't mean we can't get up to 39 to 42, whatever. Maybe we even get up to 46. I don't know. I mean, we're in the crash underway potential of the VIX. Got these from Justin Pulitzer. If you guys are ever watching, I did not taking claim that I created this right here, this range elevation, but I'll give him credit because I took it directly from him. But I agree with these numbers. They're pretty much accurate. But however, just because you're over 31 doesn't mean a crash is underway. Just keep that in mind. There are a few things going on that are very interesting as the volatility holds up going into earnings, because there is a reason to people are buying volatility. They see problems ahead potentially. I've said this a billion times on the Discord room, and I'll say it again in here. The Feds aren't very good at navigating soft landings. Typically, their landings, when they start raising rates, lead to crashes. Why? Because they create the bubbles, they got to burst them. Doesn't really work any other way. Hope people understand that. And so if they're thinking about the VIX near term going into the May meeting, I don't have a clear view of what's going to happen here until we see what? The SPY, the Qs. See what happens here. We're near the range lows. I know this is a big doji. People might say it's a reversal signal. Remember, doji is indecision. There are things called doji sandwiches. If you're not familiar with a doji sandwich, it's typically a continuation pattern where you have, like, say, this big and then a doji and then lower. Or is it this doji? I don't know. That's why you need to see in the next couple days action. Got the GDP tomorrow. My mind, it's probably irrelevant because it's backwards looking. It's not projecting. We'll see. I mean, what have I said, folks? What have I said? Big channel, big breakout. This is usually the blow off. Now, could it go higher? I guess if the Fed start printing money. But at this point, they're talking about the opposite. Keep that in mind. QQQ, living on a prayer. Living on the prayer. What did we say yesterday? I would prefer it to trap before we go lower. Potentially today a trap, maybe 2 days. I don't care. Take as many days as you need, because if it goes up, it's going to go up. But sometimes it just traps to go lower. We're at a point now where, just keep in mind, the markets as a whole are not strong. This is the first time in, it seems like forever, ever, you have the QQQ breaking the 20-month. Now, again, you had months where it's down below it, 1 month or 2 months chopping on it. But again, look at this angle of ascent. That's okay if it holds on it. This up move followed by this, telling y'all, is not fucking bullish. Hence why I have to remind people on the daily. Just because you see a green candle doesn't mean the trend is bullish bigger term. It just means that chop and slop and trap and games and all sorts of bullshit. Just keep that in mind. Oh, it looks like Meta guided down. Wow, they're great. Right? Meta beats miss on revenue guides, revenue below consensus, lowers full year 22 expense guidance. Okay, whatever. Just reading some of the briefing stuff on my other screens. At this point, again, QQQ. Please watch the Who Wins the Tech War video, because people don't realize is that when tech goes out of style, not meaning that there's no technology for the next 20 years. No, that's not how it works. When tech prices in the future, it becomes a commodity. Look what happened. I say this all the time. It went fucking nowhere for decades. It took you 17 years to get to even. If you're buying the Qs up here, let me just take it back to the monthly. If you're buying the Qs up here, do you want to wait that long? I mean, at some point, I am willing to bet in my lifetime you will see the Qs at 120 or whatever this old high was. Whatever this is. You will see it. And when it happens, you can say, damn, that dude called it in 2022. You're welcome. It's just a matter of when, not if. Again, if they pull the market higher, the bigger the bubble, the bigger the pop. It's just that simple. IWM. We've talked about this being a leader for the market and how it lags. It's lagging and making newer lows. Maybe that's pretending what's coming. Hint, hint. Remember we talked about topping early. We talked about it bottoming here, rallying and failing. New lows, new lows. Gold friends. If anyone who knows me, and you actually do know me, you've been following me forever, I love gold and silver. The reason why I've always been a gold fan is, again, I started trading it in the tech, or after the tech bubble ended. That was a great bull run. I even got more excited about it with this head and shoulders cup and handle bullshit. Like, here's a head and shoulders bottom, big cup and handle. I love gold long term. You don't see me cheerleading it. Why? Because you can't get over the old highs from 2011. And first of all, seasonality sucks for Q2. I say it over and over. Patience, grasshopper. We're to the first potential support, 175. Do not overtrade this. I know this is ugly. It's probably due to bounce. But guess what? If you're a long-term bull, pray it doesn't bounce. Shake all the weak hands it needs to. I think 175 should hold, but guess what? I'm not going to play the bounce because the first bounce is going to be shitty. It's only fucking... Oh, excuse my language. I got to stop cursing. Sorry, YouTube. It's only April. Talk to me in June, potentially. Or if we break out, great. Then I'll play it. But at this point, we're in this chop zone. It just doesn't leave me in a position to really want to trade it. Silver. Again, breaking lows, getting lower. It looks like dog shit. You got to be aware of this action. Yeah, silver looks like shit. If it breaks this trend line, it seems very obvious we're going back to the no-brainer buy zone here on the monthly. If you've been watching any of these videos, you know how much we follow this kind of shit. Very simple. Coming right back. Man, I gotta stop swearing or YouTube's gonna demonetize me. There we go. Looking pretty much like it's gonna there. Yeah, if you're familiar with left-right combos, left doji, right combo, heading back down to the range lows. Keep it simple. Again, it's probably due to bounce, which it was $1 ago, and at this point it's still going lower. That's what happens when the market gets into liquidation mode. Nothing's really safe. And on that note, let's get into some of the miners, because I know a bunch of people here love miners just like I do, but you know what you got to do? You got to leave them the F alone. Patience. Patience, patience, patience. You know, the first convergence in my mind is going to be all these trend lines come together. 33, that would probably be the solid bounce point, but be aware that if this plays out as a Gartley pattern, it's going to go down, pop, then lower. That's where I'll be more interested. At this point, just leave it alone. GDXJ, same thing. It's in our convergence point, but at this point, there's no buyers. Liquidation just is what it is. If you can't wrap your head around being wrong, then you probably should not be trading, because if you thought you were bullish here and this action wiped out, man, it's like 2 months of action lost in a week. That's why you have stops. That's why you have to be aware that you cannot just bury your head up your own, you know what, and assume that everything's going to be okay. The trend changes. AEM. Talk about the same thing. Up at highs, fail. Back at support. You have to hold here. This is one I like for the long term, but I don't know at this point. I am coming to the realization that the liquidation break might create some absolute steals. I mean, keep in mind, like, look at the COVID drop. I mean, you got, what, 63 down to 31? 68 down to maybe 47? Maybe even gets back to 30. I don't know. Just thinking out loud, you have to be aware of your own surroundings. At this point, nothing's safe. AG, same thing. I mean, where does the bottom end? I mean, we are into my buy zones, but not with the VIX and the volatility is high. At this point, you're playing with absolute fire trying to be long stocks right now, because as you said, the Fed is not going to manufacture a soft landing. They never have, and they never will. When it ends, I don't know. When is it price in that they're going to be done and go back to stimulating and printing fucking money relentlessly? Time will tell. Again, AG, just leave it alone. Newmont, I don't like this stock. I think this company is doo-doo. And ultimately, I think they have tons of gold, but their growth rate, I mean, they got to buy companies to make money. They're not the small, medium cap that you want to own for the long term, unless they start buying some real mines. Meaning real, like just something to check, something that's really going to give them growth. Keep in mind, you got this trend here. Keep in mind also, too, what do we say? Like, you know, if the channel breaks out and gets nuts, it can get the blow off. That seems very blow offish. Where are we going? Again, going to somewhere I don't want to buy. I'm not even interested in it. I'll pass on it. And then speaking of Pan American Silver, 21s. These stories are very depressing to the bulls in this area. And again, people are going to I guarantee the first green day that they see, again, I think pass down at 15 would be nuts. The first day of green on the minors, people are going to go, see, you were wrong. You were wrong. Look at the action. It's like, no, I told you to get out up here, but you're literally celebrating one up day. Maybe it is one big up day. I don't know. It's just painful. It's just absolutely painful. X, there's another one. We kept people out of trouble. Said M, 38. M pattern, 38. Hit the 200 month. Get out. Take your profit. Start buying at the 20 month. This is an amazing trade. This is basically a double we put out there. And then we said, you got to take the profit. And then once the profit was taken, leave it alone. Well, guess what? You've gone from 38. You're back down to 31. You got to hold the 30s and the upper 20s. If not, goodbye. VALE. We talked about this one being a little bit oversold because it had gotten absolutely shit can smashed. Not surprised. Watch the 100, 200 day. I think it'll reject. I'm looking for it back in the 13, 14 range. Now, again, this is solid volume buying, but is it short covering? Is it what's the best way to describe it? Just panic buying? Probably, because, again, if you miss this move, you chased the first green candle again. Doesn't prove that it's up, but we'll see. I'm not buying it. Same thing with CCJ. I mean, all these material names, just let them come to you. 50-day, let it be. Talked about this getting up into the 31, 32 range because it was the 50% fib. It's also a major volume at price resistance from the past, and it's the old resistance points from the monthly. You don't have to overthink this stuff. Seriously. All right, let's get into Mosaic. Keep it real simple. Ooh, boy. Head and shoulders, knees and toes, going lower. Again, I mean, I think you're going to see down the 50s. I mean, I know people that I respect going, well, I'm not selling this because fertilizer prices are going up and there's a food shortage. And it's like, well, then you don't know how the market works because guess what? It kind of priced that in, my friend. Going from 31 up to 80s, and not again, and again, it probably is in a bull market, but if there's a liquidation break, the VIX gets in the 40s and 50s, you set your alert for $50 a share, and I'm pretty sure you're going to see it. CF, same thing. Priced in, big move. What do you do now? You chase it? Nah, hell no. You let it roll back out of the channel, pulling back. Check somewhere in the 70s. That would be the ideal spot. Let's talk about tech because we always like to make fun of tech because there's a large masses of people that don't understand that when tech tops, you just get away from it and leave it alone. But they won't ever do it. They'll hold it for 12 years and ask you, hey, should I have sold Cisco in 2002? And you say, well, no, you should have sold in 2001, but you held it forever. At some point, those names just, they don't have the juice. They price in the future, then they have to grow into it. AMD is one of those stocks. Again, I love them. I think they make great chips, but the stock, personally, I wouldn't touch it, and that's why we're short it. And if you got it in at 125 and now you're in the 80s, keep in mind, watch for the mid-70s. That's probably going to be the first bounce point. Again, the more you're up on a trade, the less you should own. As this thing drops, just layer out. The rally there could be a steep rally at some point, but what do you do from there? Well, that's up to you because there's people who've been holding it from the 160s long, thinking that it's going to get back there. And if it's at 80, I guarantee any pop, they're going to take their profits, meaning they're going to try to get out without a loss or just lock in what they had. Apple, we talked about this breaking the 200-day. It's going into earnings. Just be aware. What happens with earnings, we don't know. It's better to be the person who reacts to earnings versus trying to predict it. The second mouse gets the cheese. The first one gets his head chopped off. Same thing here. Keep an eye on it. Looking at the monthly. Really thought this might get up here to 200, but that was wrong. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. It went parabolic, multiple channel time frames. You better hold these 150s. If not, it could get smushed. They're probably going to announce a $100 billion buyback. Just keep that in mind. Be aware, though, IBM, GE, big companies do big buybacks at the peak of their growth multiple to try to lure investors in to hold for the long run. The problem is when you waste money on a buyback, you cannot innovate like you should. And if their margins are going to compress and all their money's going to a buyback, just means the C-suite folks are going to go on a lot of cruises and just not give a shit about the stock long term. Be aware of that strategy because that's usually what happens. Speaking of strategy, MicroStrategy, roll into that. Breaking the channel, probably going lower. Probably means Bitcoin's going lower. Remember, this thing leads Bitcoin. If Bitcoin drops, this is gone. And gone meaning just whatever. That levels that we talked about earlier in the video, probably heading back to 30,000, potentially 35. Roadblocks, this thing is an absolute takeout steal at some point, but guess what? Look at that chart. You don't know where it's going to be at. Somebody's not taking advantage of the low prices, and meaning that if this was really strong, you should see the volume start to pick up at the price action. However, it is accelerating a little bit, but it's not enough to get anyone out of bed for. Good old Tesla. Be aware, man. That news that he has tied his investment from Twitter into his Tesla stock means that at some point he may have to liquidate Tesla stock to pony up his debts, which, knowing that the market is really good at sniffing out that kind of crap, they're going to probably put him to the test. We're at the trend line. Trend line fails, you know where it goes. South for the winter, or maybe south for the summer, more like. PENN Gaming, what a joke, man. March Madness couldn't get a bounce. Just been chopping. The stock going nowhere. Dave Portnoy, guy's an entertainer, but his stock has gone nowhere. It's interesting you don't hear him talking about diamond hands and you got to buy PENN stock now that it's gone from 140 down to 36. You would think he'd be the cheerleader of cheerleaders now if it's on discounted sale. It's lost to what, 70% of its value. Quiet. Chirps. You don't hear nothing. UTHR, we talked about. This has been a really interesting trade. W bottom, testing the 100, 200 day. Comes right back to support. Look at that. Hit it exactly today and bounced. If you're watching this stock, congratulations. Golf clap. You nailed that one. EXP, man, sinking ship. Everyone's perception of real estate is it's failing. I'm telling you guys now, listings in certain states, certain areas are still hot as fire. Be aware, in the 70s and 80s, as interest rates went to 20%, that did not mean the housing market crashed. It actually sustained and doubled and tripled. It's because there's inflation. Keep that in mind. Don't be boneheaded and think just because interest rates go up that necessarily housing has to come down. There's a shortage. You can't build houses. The replacement costs are going up. So that brings up the whole floor in the market. Keep that in mind. Don't put your head up your butt. Let's end it finally on XOP. We talked about this was a monster short. Easy money. Look at that. If you're not in this, that's okay. Just don't chase it. We've talked about how to short this. You got in up near the 140s. It's now channeling around the 50-day and the 120s. I think at some point you will test the trend low. I think longer term, again, if you're newer to the channel and you're watching this, you're like, what the hell are you talking about? You got the 100-month, you got the IPO price, you got the 0.382 fib, all acting as catalysts to stop this move up. Keep in mind it went from 30 up to 147. It is a monster move. It's due to take a break. It's that simple. Again, oil prices ultimately will come down from demand destruction, but there's a little thing going on in Europe that might be causing prices to hold up for the near term, but still, I don't trust it. Let's end it on ExxonMobil because this thing got pumping today. I don't know if they had an upgrade today or what, but held the 50-day, got back up over the 20-day and closed right under it. Not really bullish or bearish at this point, but just keep it simple. If you got any questions about this stuff, again, check out the Discord room. If you're in the Discord room, leave me a comment. I'm just curious to see how many people actually get this far who are watching in the Discord room. And yeah, again, link is in the description below. If you have any questions, stop on by, and I'll talk to you guys and gals later. Hey, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, stop by the Discord room. A link is in the description below. Also, if you'd like to help support more free content, the PayPal link is in the description as well. I appreciate your continued support of the channel.